Welcome, welcome. We are live. I'm Dr. Frita, and this is Medical Monday, where we are talking about medicine in the news. Yes, we're about to cover all of the hot health topics in the news, and we have quite a few things to cover. First off, let's talk about what's really trending on all the news stations, and that is the trial. Yes, the first former president in history to actually be on a criminal trial. There's all kinds of scandalous things being talked about. Stormy Daniels, the person who does the catch and kill story, allegedly, all of these things, the Inquirer's story, all of those things. But there's also something medical going on in the court. Yes, something potentially medical. So we'll start off and we'll talk about that. And then let's talk about Toni Braxton. Y'all know Toni Braxton, Grammy award-winning songwriter, musician. Unbreak my heart. Okay, she doesn't sound like that when she sings, but Toni Braxton has really come clean with her diagnosis of lupus. And she shares very candidly the struggles she's had being able to perform, be a mom, do all the things, and still live with lupus. So we'll talk about lupus, and then we'll talk about hemorrhoids. I know people don't really talk about it, but a California woman actually died after using a hemorrhoid cream. So we'll talk about what happened to her and how to keep something like that from happening to you. And we got some other things we'll talk about. We'll talk about a certain celebrity, Tori Spelling. You know her, very thin, from, I believe, Beverly Hills 90210 back in the day. You've always seen her slim and trim. Well, she came clean about using a weight loss injection. I'll see what you think about that. And then we'll talk about Mama June. Y'all know Mama June. She used to weigh over 500 pounds. Then she had a weight loss surgery. Well, now she says that she's going on a weight loss injection. Oh, and of course, we'll have a live Q&A. So write your questions down. I'll be answering your questions live on stage right here in Dr. Frita's Medicine in the News. Like and subscribe and stay with me. Come on back. All right, let's get going. I am Dr. Frita. This is Medicine in the News. As you come in, please go ahead and like this video and share it. Let the people know we're giving evidence-based medicine, because I'm going to give you some good medicine to give you a healthier, happy life today. But I'm not doing it alone. I have my lovely co-host, Shador, and my practice manager of over a decade. Shador, come on up and join me so we can give them these hot medical topics. How are you doing, Shador?
I'm doing good. How are you doing today?
Doing very well on this Medical Monday. Did you have a good weekend?
Fighting allergies, I'd say, please.
This doggone pollen. That's right. And listen to everyone in the chat. We talked about pollen last week. So please go back and look at our last Monday's live, because the allergy season is longer than ever before and the pollen is eating people up. I'm sorry that it got you, because the pollen was out. Well, I was outside, Shador, and you know, I don't have allergies, but all my kids do. So I do sympathize. But I was outdoors doing a 5K this weekend. I did it with my chapter, Marietta Roswell Alumni Chapter, MRAC, of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. And it was a 5K that was open to everyone in the Atlanta area. So we did it and we raised money for Swim Kids, SWEM Kids. And that is an organization that goes and gives free swimming lessons to underserved areas. We go to Black communities. We go to places where there's just not real access to swimming pools. We give free swimsuits, free goggles, free caps, free towels, transportation, swimming lessons. So we raised money for that organization and others. And get this, Shador, we had free screening. We literally had free prostate screening. We did it just from the blood test, the PSA, prostate specific antigen, which we also talked about on our last live. And you won't believe this, we had a mammogram bus, a mobile mammogram bus. Thank you to Grady. And we actually were out there at this 5K, women without, you didn't have to have insurance, you didn't have to have anything, but we gave free mammograms for breast cancer screening. So that's what I did this weekend. And so it was really, really great. So, hey, give me a 1 in the chat if you knew that there was a mobile mammogram bus. Have you ever heard of that? A mobile mammogram bus. Go to my Instagram at dr.frita, and I posted what happened this weekend. It was very fun, Shador. Very fun. All right. So let's get started. Let's get started with some of the questions. I believe we had a question from before that we can go ahead and get started with, and I'll come back and see who put a 1 in the chat for if you ever heard of the mobile mammogram bus.
Absolutely. So this question came from Achieve Music. Is a pig transplant viable for humans? Are there any ethical or genetic considerations?
Oh, that's a very good question. So, we are definitely approaching very new territory with the pig transplants. So, as far as what is ethical, that can be a very gray line, right? What is ethical? And so, Achieve Music. I'll start here. When you look at the people who actually get transplants, okay? And we know that transplants are very needed to save lives. 17 people die each day while waiting for a transplant, and kidney transplants are the most sought after transplants, okay? And here's the thing, even though a greater percentage of Black people, Latino people are on dialysis, Black people are very low. We look at the numbers on who's getting transplants. So there's a big health equity gap. So when we talk about ethical issues, why is it that the people who, as a people, are in most need, why are they getting the least kidneys? So that's one ethical issue. But when it comes to the pigs, what is happening is that they really are genetically modifying the pigs. And so if I'm honest, when you create these pigs to prolong human lives, you really aren't worried about the life of the pig. In other words, they're not genetically modifying pigs and then sending them off to do well. So is that unethical? Well, it depends on where your ethics stand. The pigs aren't being used to make shoes, to make belts, to do things that are superficial. They're literally being used to save the lives of humans. So does it become a matter of which life is more valuable, a human or a pig? And then taking it a step further, we know that when you go to the grocery store and you go into the meat section, there's all kinds of food made by pigs, of course, bacon, pork chops, you name it. Is that unethical? So that's really a deep question. And of course, there's no right or wrong answer. But I guess it all comes down to it. If genetically modifying the pigs will ultimately save millions of human lives and give a greater quality to human lives, is it worth it to essentially create the kind of pig that you want? So quite honestly, that's not a question that I can answer, but I can say that if it came down to my loved one absolutely not being able to get a transplant just because the numbers weren't there, but they could get a genetically modified pig, I'll be honest, if it's found to be safe for my loved one, then I would opt for the pig. Let me know what you think in the chat, please, because that's really a good question. That's really a good question. Put a 2 in the chat if you think that it is ethical to use genetically modified pigs. And in this, by all research and all assumptions, the pigs are not in any physical pain. The pigs are not being tortured or anything like that, but they really are being created and modified for humans. Put a 2 if you think that that's okay. Put a 2 if you think that it is ethical to use genetically modified pigs to prolong the lives and give quality lives of humans in need. A 2 if you think that it is ethical. And please comment. Dang, we started off kind of deep, Shador.
Yeah, we did. We got a couple of 2s popping in, though.
A couple of 2s popping in?
Yeah.
Okay, do they have any comments? Just
no,
a shout out.
Messages.
Yeah, shout out real quick, who said 2.
Yeah, Miss Althea White.
Okay, hi, Miss Althea White.
Sandra.
Hi, Miss Sandra.
Mr. Patrick.
Hi, Mr. Patrick. Yeah.
Baby D.
Hi, David D. Yeah. And so I'm with you right now. And unless I find out something otherwise where the pig is being tortured or something really, if that pig is being created and it's literally helping to promote human lives, not just something that's wasteful and you're using the pig to wear for a hat that you throw away, but literally saving lives, for me and my thoughts, it's ethical. And if anyone has the opposing views, then we can touch on that before the show is over too. Whew, we got started pretty deep. Well, let's take it up a little notch. Let's lighten things up, Shador. All right. So in the news, I know y'all have seen the trial. How many of y'all were supposed to be doing work today or doing other things, but you were like me and you were turning on the TV or looking at your phone at the trial that's going on with the former president about money being used, allegedly, probably not so allegedly, but money being used to pay Stormy Daniels, the adult movie star. So we know that he paid her, but they're trying to figure out if he did something that was illegal with the campaign funds. So put a 3 in the chat if you've been peeking up on that story. Well, yeah, so there's a whole lot of things that they're talking about, salacious things and lots of, heavy politics. But here's something that actually is a little medical, and it is regarding the past president, Trump, and what's going on during the trial. Let's play that clip.
Matter of fact, we used to say, we do say second source. I need more than one source. And if you can get me 3, that's great. So I now have 2 credible sources who said that there was an odor going on around the former president in court. Because not only was he falling asleep again today, apparently, did you guys hear? He was farting. He was tooting, pooting. What else do you call it? I'm not kidding you. My friend and attorney over at the Midas Touch Network.
I'm a therapist.
All right. So y'all know Don Lemon. He formerly was with CNN, a very serious journalist. I know he's laughing right now, and he's no longer with CNN, and he got a settlement from there. And then he was going to be on X, formerly known as Twitter. But then after his first interview with Elon Musk, that didn't go so well. So now he is still giving news every day from his YouTube channel and other platforms. And he is talking about what's been all over the news and trending, that apparently the former president was passing gas in the court. Now, I know Don Lemon was cracking up and laughing, but there actually really is something medical to that. As we age, okay, as people age, the elderly do tend to have more flatulence, more gas. That's just the way it is. And so I just want to touch medically on what's going on potentially in the court. And of course, I'm certainly not the past president's doctor. I'm not privy to any of his medical information, but in general, why is it that elderly people tend to pass more gas? Well, one, as you get older, you tend to have a harder time digesting foods. You digest foods more slowly. And part of that reason is that you make less acid, less stomach acid. So with that slower digestion and less stomach acid, well, now the food is sitting in the digestive system for longer. And so you're literally producing more gas. Okay. In addition to that, as the muscles weaken, you may have a weaker anal sphincter, being able to hold your bottom end to keep the gas in. And so if that's the case, then it may release. The other thing that happens as you get older is that you tend to make less lactase, which means that you're lactose intolerant. So for dairy products, things like cheese, milk, you may eat those and then you produce more gas than you normally would. So yes, while people are laughing and kiki and having a ball and so forth and so on, it actually really does have some medical relevance. As you get older, you tend to have more flatulence. And so that is perhaps why there was allegedly an odor in the court. All right. So I guess keeping in line with the anal sphincter in the bottom, this next story is actually quite sad, and it was shocking to me. We have a story about a California woman who literally died after using hemorrhoid cream. Okay, Shador.
Sacramento, California, has highlighted the dangers of purchasing unverified products online. A woman passed away after using a hemorrhoid ointment bought on Facebook and mailed from Vietnam. The cream, touted as a miracle treatment, was found to contain a staggering 4% lead, thousands of times above the safe limit. Officials are urging people to avoid this product and dispose of any you may have at home. The cream, known as Chow Boi Tri Kai Tao Dao, was primarily sold in Vietnamese language Facebook groups. Despite its claimed benefits, it proved fatal for the woman, who had a relative send it to the U.S. The California Department of Public Health issued an alert on April 10th, emphasizing the dangers of lead poisoning. Hemorrhoids affect millions of Americans annually, with various treatment options available. However, the contaminated cream's high lead content posed a severe health risk.
Now that story is really unbelievable because we hear about hemorrhoids all the time. You know, definitely Shador, we have patients in the office who have them, very commonplace. And usually when you think about a cream, right, something on the skin, you think, it's probably pretty harmless. But this lady literally died. So in the chat, if you have any questions about hemorrhoids, if you have any questions about lead poisoning, let me know and we'll get into it. Meanwhile, Shador, who was the first person in the chat today?
Absolutely. Our first person in today, Miss Sassy.
Hi, Miss Sassy. Thank you for joining. Listen, as y'all come on in, what's that?
Oh, she says, hello, happy Monday, tuning in from Colorado.
Hi, hello from Colorado. Oh my gosh. Listen, Miss Sassy, yeah, my youngest daughter, I know I've mentioned it before. It's probably because I'm feeling guilty that I have never, ever taken my kids skiing. She's trying to get us out to Colorado. So one of these days I'll be out there, Miss Sassy, but thank you. Thank you for joining us. Shador, in response to our previous question, did we have any more twos or anyone who actually had comments about the ethics of that pig transplant?
Yes, of course we did. Let's see. Let me go up here. So in regards to the pig, Baby D.
Hi, Baby D.
I think a human life is way more valuable than a pig's life unless it has to do with religious purposes. I don't see any reason not to.
Very nice. Very good insight. Yeah. And you brought up a different point about the religious purposes. Like, are pigs to some people, you know, a holy animal, just like cows in certain religions are holy? I didn't really think about that. All right. So then now I'll get more into this hemorrhoid story and the California woman dying of lead poisoning. But as I do, did anyone have any questions already off the bat from the hemorrhoid story? If not, I'll go on. And if they have questions, then I'll pause for questions afterwards. All right. So first off, let's talk. Oh, go ahead.
Not directly to the hemorrhoid story, no.
Okay. So I'll touch after that. So, okay. And also I do want to know if anyone had ever heard of this hemorrhoid story, because it was shocking to me. Put a 4 in the chat if you already heard about this hemorrhoid story and the lady dying of lead poisoning. So yes, a California woman, as they shared, literally just found out about this great cream from Vietnam that was supposed to help her with her hemorrhoids. And she used it and ended up dying of lead poisoning or lead toxicity. So let's talk about hemorrhoids, because again, it's a common term people throw around, but a lot of people don't really know what a hemorrhoid is. So what a hemorrhoid is a bulging of one of the veins in the rectum, okay, or in the anus, almost like a varicose vein of the rectum or anus. And there are 2 different types. There's internal and external. So if it's up higher and it's in the rectum, they call it an internal hemorrhoid. And internal hemorrhoids tend not to be painful, okay? But when you strain, like say you're constipated and you're straining, they may actually bulge, and then they can become painful and they can cause bleeding. So if you wipe with tissue and you see like this bright red blood and it's like, what's going on? And you don't even feel any pain, that could be an internal hemorrhoid up high in the rectum. And then there are external hemorrhoids as well. And the external hemorrhoids are a little bit lower in the anus. And so there's like a bulging of the vein under the skin. And those tend to be painful. Those tend to be hurt. You got more nerve endings there. And they can even cause itching. And again, they can bulge. So there's lots of topical things like the creams like this young lady used, things that you can do over the counter. You can do sitz baths, you know, some things you can do at home. But if you are having extreme pain from your hemorrhoids, then certainly you need to go in to see a doctor. And also, if you're having a lot of bleeding, you don't want to always just assume that the bleeding is a hemorrhoid, because the bleeding could be actually coming from cancer or from diverticulitis or from something else. And so if this bleeding is persistent, and certainly if you have lightheadedness, if you have anemia, or if you're just not sure, also if you have change in bowel habits, then you definitely want to go in to see your doctor, you know, to have the hemorrhoid checked out. But let me know if y'all want to hear more about hemorrhoids. And then I'm going to move on to what actually did take the life of this California woman. So it was lead poisoning. As they said, she had thousands of times the limits of what the lead was supposed to be was found in her cream. Now, put a 5 in the chat if you've heard of lead poisoning. Like, especially in kids, you know, like I normally think about lead poisoning in kids. And, you know, when I did my pediatrics training, after I got my board certification, I did my med peds, the dual residency, internal medicine pediatrics residency at Georgetown University Hospital. And we definitely used to screen our children for lead poisoning. And truth be told, so lead is something that's naturally occurring. It can be found in soil. It can even be found in groundwater. And it can also be found in paint, like paint chips, especially of older homes. You can find lead there. Sometimes it's in products. Unfortunately, it can be in batteries. So lead is in a lot of different places, but children, especially kids who are less than 6 years old, are particularly susceptible to lead because their brains and their nerves are still developing. And kids who have lead poisoning can have learning disabilities. They can even have hyperactivity disorders. They can have comas. They can have seizures. It can even lead to kids not being alive. And so I think a lot of people are familiar with that, but adults can certainly have lead toxicity as well. And it's not just about eating paint chips or having lead that's in your water. And we know, like in Michigan and other places where the water has historically not been as clean as it's supposed to be, especially in underserved areas, Black areas. Well, you can also get lead, we know, through something that's topical. So for the hemorrhoid cream, that means she would have been putting the lead directly on that bulging vein that we talked about, and her body absorbed the lead, and she ended up with lead toxicity. Usually in adults with lead toxicity, they can have heart problems, right? Cardiovascular activity problems. They can also have high blood pressure, coma, seizures, and it can lead to them not being alive, like in the case of this young lady. So it's just a reminder to us, even if you're seeing things on Facebook like she did from Vietnam, or you hear that something overseas somewhere else is so great, in every country has its own regulation system. In the United States, the way that we regulate items, including hemorrhoid cream, is different than the way they do in other countries. And so when you call yourself going outside the country to get what you think is better, just understand that there's no guarantee, and you could be increasing your risk for having a toxic substance like this lady unfortunately did. All right. Any questions from the chat, Shador, or anyone who had already heard of the story with the
Yes,
4?
absolutely. So we'll start
Who
with
already
TS.
heard of it? Because I didn't hear about it.
Well,
Who is it?
TS is very knowledgeable. Hi TS.
Hi, TS.
So heard of lead poisoning and the story as well. And he has two comments. Is there a way to flush the lead out of the system? We'll start with that one.
So the thing is, when the lead poisoning is first starting, then you're very likely not to have the symptoms, right? So by the time, such as in this lady, with her amount being thousands of times the norm, then honestly, it would have been too late from what it seems to actually get it out of the system. But in cases where the lead poisoning is caught early on, then of course they want to cease the source of the lead. Is it paint chips? Is it the water? Is the hemorrhoid cream? And if they're able to pick up on some of the symptoms that I find out, there are ways that toxicology can try to decrease the early effects. And again, anemia is one of the potential effects of lead. But quite honestly, by the time it gets too far, there's not much that can be done. I know that, we used to say we had a certain amount, like 10 micrograms was the level that we said was considered to be toxic for children. Now we've lowered that to 3.5 micrograms. And we're really good about screening for lead exposure in children, but in the adults, not so much. And in pregnant women are also going to be at high risk for what can happen with lead, because of course, as they take in the lead, it can affect the unborn child or the fetus. But yeah, so you had heard of it. Yeah, I think that's actually a pretty important story, not only for the lead toxicity, but reminding people, be careful of what you order from places where it's not regulated the same way that it's regulated in your country or here in the United States. Because even if it's not something you're taking in, if it's something that's topical, then the toxins, in some cases, like in this, you can absorb them, and it could end to you not being alive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And TS also says that I'm in California. A lot of people here discussed it. I think the rectal area is faster due to the blood supply there, but not sure.
What was that last part?
I think the rectal area absorbs maybe faster due to the blood supply there, but not sure.
Absolutely. Which is, when I was opening up talking about like what is a hemorrhoid, is literally a blood vessel. And you may have heard of, like, for children or even adults sometimes, who are very, very nauseated, vomiting, can't keep anything down, can't even keep down an anti-vomiting pill like a Phenergan. We would give rectal suppositories. Why? Because that medicine is absorbed very quickly in the rectal area. So yes, by that same notion, you're absolutely right, TS, then the lead will be absorbed very easily in that blood supply in the rectum. Yep, you're right on.
All right. And then just one more comment we made from Pastor L111.
Hello.
It is
Thank
said
you
to
for
order
joining.
things and a result in a life of death situation. So just comment of her having that ship from her home or from Vietnam and having to die as a result of it.
It's very sad. Read that again for me. I'm sorry.
It is sad to order things and a result in a life or death situation.
Yes, absolutely. And that just lets you know. And I'm sure she has, probably the same intelligence as most people. And it just probably seemed like harmless, almost like if you ordered a lotion or a face cream and someone told you they made it better in another country. I'm sure she had no idea that it would actually end up being something in her system. But you're right, for it to end up taking her life for something that even had she had an inkling of knowledge about, she would have done something else. And that's another thing, Pastor, that why it's important to know that you must consult with your physician. Sometimes things that may seem pretty benign or you think you know the answer, if it has anything to do with your health, consult with your physician, because her physician would have talked to her more in detail about hemorrhoids. Her physician would have, first of all, talked about the causes of hemorrhoids, and then because if you're a person who's constipated and you're straining, that can cause a hemorrhoid. If you're someone who just doesn't have enough fiber in your diet, if you're someone, believe it or not, who sits a lot, sitting can just put pressure and cause some of those veins in the rectum and the anus to bulge. If you're someone and your sexual activity involves the same area that gets hemorrhoids, then that is something to be aware of because it could put you at risk. Pregnant women, when you're sitting up here with these full wombs, bringing life into the earth, well, that life can put pressure on you and cause you to have, bulging and hemorrhoids, all kinds of things, so her doctor would have talked to her about kind of ways to help to prevent, making sure you have a diet that's high in fiber, making sure you are very hydrated. And then her doctor would also talk about what to do and when to see a physician. So one of the things that can happen with hemorrhoids is that they can protrude, right? And sometimes they can even be strangulated, meaning the blood supply is cut off from a hemorrhoid. That can be exceedingly painful. Or you can have a thrombosed hemorrhoid, meaning that blood has pooled in the hemorrhoid, and now you have a clot there. And if these things happen, you want to seek medical attention right away. You want to go to the ER, certainly if you have a strangulated hemorrhoid and you're in extreme pain. Don't sit and try to wait it out at home. And there are things that can be done. Yes, there are surgical procedures, but there are also some things that are less invasive. But all of these things, has she consulted with her physician, it could have been prevented. So I agree. It's really sad that ordering something from overseas led to this. But sure enough, this California woman literally lost her life from lead poisoning from a hemorrhoid cream that she ordered from Vietnam. Yeah. All right. Well, let's move on to the next headline. And please, I thank you for everyone who's in the chat with us. Sharing is caring. Please be sure to go ahead and like this video. Like this video, it lets YouTube know that we're here, that we're giving evidence-based information. And when you share it, hey, you bring some other people to join the party. And make sure that if you haven't subscribed already, subscribe to this YouTube channel, Dr. Frita. We have hundreds of videos, lots of evidence-based medicine. And I'm very proud to report that we have over 700,000 subscribers. So yes, like this video, share this video. And let me know again if you want any more details about hemorrhoids. And then in that case, what I'll do is on my Instagram at dr.frita. Make sure you follow me there. Then I'll run over there and I'll do a video, later on in the week. All right. Do y'all remember Tori Spelling? In the Big Spelling family, her dad was real big in television. She has a brother who was an actor also. She played Donna in Beverly Hills 90210. Did some other acting. She did a lot of reality television also, where she had a husband, all kinds of kids. Well, she just recently shared something that she did for weight loss, and she said that she is not ashamed. Let's watch that clip.
Everyone naturally assumes, like, if you are on a weight loss injection medication, that it's Ozempic, because I think that was the first one that was a known thing. I actually, in all fairness, my doctor I tried Ozempic and it didn't work for me. I didn't lose any weight. So then she switched me to Mounjaro. And it's so funny. I don't know. My doctor was telling me like Mounjaro. I was like, I hadn't heard of Mounjaro. So when she switched me to Mounjaro, I was like, oh, I don't know Mounjaro. I've just heard of Ozempic.
Okay. Now, I definitely need to hear from y'all in the chat. So if you are familiar with Tori Spelling, this child actor and her family, you know, she's talks about how she really did grow up in privilege. No shame in that. She said that, you know, she remembers as a child, I believe in California, where of course they didn't have, you know, dreaming of a white Christmas. They didn't have snow, but her dad was literally so wealthy that he would create snow. He would have artificial snow, and so she would have snowy white Christmases in California. And she shares a story, and it's kind of funny, I suppose, where she didn't quite realize that all the other kids didn't have white Christmases that their dads ordered, you know. So she's grew up quite wealthy, quite privileged. But then she was in the news quite a bit because once her father passed away, apparently she and her mother had some conflict. Reportedly, they're better now, but they had great conflict. And she actually was not left with much money and either filed bankruptcy or went on the border of filing bankruptcy, but really did not have that inheritance. So she's had quite an up and down life. You know, her relationship has been very open with her husband, on and off from the TV show, all of those things. But she went on to share that she's been thin all of her life, right? She said both of her parents were thin, and she had never weighed more than 120 pounds. But after she had her baby, and I believe the last baby she had, she was in her 40s. She said that she had gained weight, and she gained up to 160 pounds, which apparently to her, you know, was large. And so she tried Ozempic, and she tried Mounjaro. So you will recall that, yes, originally the GLP-1 agonists, these weight loss shots, were originally for diabetes type 2, but now they really are FDA approved for people who are living with obesity, defined as a BMI of 30 or greater, or living with being overweight, a BMI of 27 or greater, plus another illness like high blood pressure, you know, high cholesterol. But quite frankly, if Tori Spelling was not actually considered to be obese, but if she just really was trying to get back down to less than 121 in the one teens, if she really was not obese, and certainly I don't believe she has diabetes, give me a 5 if you disagree with the use of her using the drug. Now, saying that, I know that I'm stepping into some kind of judgmental category a little bit here, but I'm just kind of curious to see where you are in the chat. Do you think someone who pretty much has been naturally thin her entire life, who is using the drug outside of its indications, but just to get back skinny and not just, you know, having the postpartum weight like a lot of us have, and then you kind of gradually go back to it, if your baseline is not living with obesity, you know, kind of having to take the time to lose the weight, do you think that do you disagree with her doctor giving her the Ozempic and the Mounjaro? Give me a 5 if you disagree, but then give me a 6 if you think that's her business. You know, if she's skinny and she wants to get skinnier and you think that's her business, and you actually, because she says she's not ashamed. If you're like, good, more power to you. Stop celebrity shaming, stop skinny shaming. It's okay, you know, in a world, because truth be told, when you are a celebrity, there is pressure. When women are a size 6, which may look pretty thin to most people, there is pressure to get down to a 2, to get down to a 0. So if you think that, hey, mind your business, and she's legit for getting it done, assuming that she didn't have obesity, which I don't think she did, give me a 6 if you think that you agree with her for getting the shots, or you agree that it's none of your business, or give me a 5 if you think she's wrong for that, and that she's one of the people who actually is, you know, why we're so short on medicine. So 5s and 6s, that's what I want to know about. Yeah, meanwhile, any questions?
It's matching up here, Dr. Frita.
Ooh, first off, mind your business.
Janet Jackson gave us a 5.
Who? Janet Jackson. So you said she's wrong for that. Do you have what she say? Why do you think she's wrong?
She takes it because she's privileged.
So she takes it because she's privileged. Because literally, she's like, I've never been less than 120. And she was able to go through Ozempic and go through Mounjaro, which we know these drugs can be like $1,300 a month. And you know what, like Shador and I are literally living it, where we're seeing patients who are living with obesity and some who have diabetes, where we try one drug, try another one, or their primary care doctors have given them the medicine for the diabetes or for living with obesity, which of course, when you're living with obesity, you can have the different complications like heart disease, diabetes, increased risk for strokes, increased risk for amputations, bad knees, having the arthritis, low back pain, all the things, even kidney disease. We have patients who have indications for it, and there's a shortage. And it is absolutely correct. With her having the privilege, money's not an issue. She could probably care less if insurance covers it or not. And they definitely aren't going to cover it if you're getting it to be thinner when you're actually not living with being overweight or obesity. All right. So she gave it a 5. Do we have any 6s or any more 5s? Or any more comments about it?
6s. We got plenty of comments about it now.
Okay. Well, let me get a couple more comments, and then we'll talk about the next thing.
Monica gave it a 5. Hi, Monica.
Hi, Monica.
She says for anyone who doesn't have diabetes, it's hard to get the medicine. So she definitely agrees with what you says about, how it's a shortage of the medication. Miss Arletta or Arletta.
Hi, Miss Arletta.
You should go on a plant-based diet.
Plant-based diets are definitely good. Okay. But let me say this about the people without diabetes. Yes, it's frustrating as far as the diabetes, but I actually am of the belief that if you're someone who is living with obesity is a chronic medical condition, and it does increase people's chances, not only of a poor quality of life with different illnesses, but it increases the risk of people dying early. And so, yes, so not only for diabetes, I'm in agreement with the medication being used for people who are living with obesity in conjunction with eating well and exercising. And as far as a plant-based diet, absolutely, most people should be doing. Plant-based diet is going to be the healthiest thing. Eating green vegetables, eating fruits. But for people who do eat meat, try to have fatty fish like salmon, halibut, mackerel, fish that will have those omega-3 fatty acids, antioxidants. Or if you do eat meat, like if you eat chicken, white meat with no skin. But truthfully, if you're eating animal meat, it does increase your risk for having high cholesterol, having the high bad cholesterol. And so the plant-based diets typically are going to be the best. Remember, what I share on this channel is informational. It does not replace the advice of your physician. So consult with your physician to find out the diet that's best for you. But yeah, so thank you for those comments. Anyone else will comment? Tori Spelling.
Yes, ma'am. Let me get a couple more in from Miss Caddy.
Hi, Miss Hattie.
If you don't have diabetes, are these drugs dangerous to take for weight loss?
I'll tell you. So right now we don't have any definitive evidence, but there was one study that was actually done suggesting possibly so. But let me just start here. For the studies, the huge studies that were done for the GLP-1 agonists, what they found was that even if you don't have diabetes, then you don't have a great chance of having low blood sugar. In other words, what these GLP-1 agonists do is not only do they do the weight loss portion, which is slowing down the gastric motility, slowing down how fast you digest food. And in doing that, they make you feel full for longer, right? And so that'll make you eat less. Also, from a central standpoint, from the brain, they cause you to crave less. And so patients tend to crave less sweets. They crave less carbohydrates. And some studies are showing that they crave less nicotine, less alcohol as well. There's no FDA indication for that, but that's something to stay on the outlook for. But the other thing that they do, which was the original plan, is for diabetes, the GLP-1 agonists, the medicines like the Ozempic, Wegovy, Mounjaro, Zepbound, they increase your pancreas's secretion of insulin. So your pancreas, that little kind of drumstick shaped organ that's kind of right under your rib cage in the front, that pancreas is what makes your insulin, right, which helps to maintain your regulated blood sugar levels. Well, when you take that and you have elevated blood sugar levels, then the GLP-1 agonists, the weight loss shots or the diabetic shots, actually help to make more insulin. But interestingly enough, patients who don't have diabetes don't tend to have a lot of low blood sugar. So in other words, if they don't need the extra insulin production for whatever reason, for whatever mechanism, they tend to be okay. So by and large, it's been found that the drugs are safe even for patients without diabetes, which is why the FDA approved Wegovy for weight loss as well as Zepbound. These are the same types of drugs. Both Wegovy and Ozempic are semaglutide, same drug. and they're approved even if you don't have diabetes, the Wegovy is. And then the Mounjaro and the Zepbound are both tirzepatide. All of them are GLP-1 agonists, but even if you don't have diabetes, the FDA has approved it. And so thus far, we have not found any overwhelming evidence for it to be harmful. There are certain side effects. Make sure you go to my YouTube video where I talk about Ozempic, and I'm like, is it like a great, wonderful choice, or is it a problem? Like, is it the holy grail, or is it really risky business? So if you look up Ozempic, Dr. Frita, right here on this YouTube channel, I go into great detail, but great question.
All right, can I ask one more before we move on, Dr. Frita?
Okay.
This is from Rachel Watson.
Hi, Rachel Watson. Thank you for joining.
I have type 2 diabetes, but am not obese. I would like to not eat so much because my belly looks like I'm with child. Could Mounjaro help me to have less appetite?
Oh my goodness. Okay. Now you say your belly makes you like you're with child, like you're pregnant. And I'm assuming that you're not. So here's the tricky thing about weight loss. So number one, again, what I'm giving is informational. You want to make sure you consult with your primary care doctor and your endocrinologist. But if you actually are not living with obesity, and if whatever you're taking for your type 2 diabetes, be it diet controlled, if you're doing something else like insulin or metformin, if you're a doctor and you have figured out that it works for you for the blood sugar, if you're not living with obesity, then it's not, yes, the Mounjaro, those medicines, Ozempic can help you eat less, but it's difficult to have spot weight loss. In other words, you may say, okay, I want to lose some of my belly because it looks like I'm with child, but you may just end up losing weight in your thighs, in your hips. You may end up losing weight in your face, having a gaunt face, So if you only have one spot where you want to lose weight, then I really would not recommend the Mounjaro. You're not likely to be successful just in a spot weight loss, and you can even kind of think about your own self in the past. If you've had what you say, a belly that makes you look like you're with child, and say you've lost 5 or 10 pounds for whatever reason in the past, did that weight come off in your belly, or did just your whole body lose weight evenly? If your whole body lost weight evenly, or if you just lost it in your thighs and your bottom and you still had a belly, the Mounjaro is probably not going to be the trick for the belly fat. But I definitely would consult with your physician and even talk about, exercise plans, different abdominal exercises. And there's all kinds of things we can do to get rid of belly fat. So, and of course, it's an option. Consult with your doctor. And it's not something that I'm necessarily promoting at all, but there are also some procedures. Not promoting you to do a procedure for it, but definitely consult with your physician. But yeah, I wouldn't recommend the Mounjaro or Ozempic if you're just trying to find one specific spot in your body to lose weight. Doesn't work like that. Good question.
Yeah, very good question. Thank you.
Yeah.
Just one more from Barbara.
All right.
Does it really cause thyroid cancer?
What was that?
Does it really cause thyroid cancer? I guess the
weight good question. I'm glad you brought that up. So yes, so on the labels of all these GLP-1 agonists, the Ozempic, Wegovy, Mounjaro, you'll see where they say, if you have a personal history of a certain type of thyroid cancer, or a family history of a certain type of thyroid cancer, or the MEN syndrome, one of those syndromes, then it is contraindicated, meaning that you're not to take it, because what they found in the mice studies, in the rats and the mice that they used to study, is that it increased some of those cells, those potential thyroid cancer cells. Now, so yes, if you have a family history, which increases your risk, or a personal history of a specific type of thyroid cancer, then yes, potentially it could cause it. Do we have any documented cases in human beings? Not that I'm aware, but it was in the mouse studies where it was found and replicated enough for them to put it on the label that if you have a family history of the MEN or personal family history of a particular type of thyroid cancer, not to do it. But some people do just kind of pick that up and they blatantly think, oh no, it's going to cause thyroid cancer. It's going to cause thyroid cancer. No evidence if you don't have a personal history or a family history, but definitely consult with your physician. Because, so yes, the thyroid cancer is a contraindication. Also, if you're already taking another medicine in the same category, like if you're already taking Ozempic, then you don't add Mounjaro to it. You don't add Saxenda to it. You don't add Wegovy to it. So you're not supposed to, it's not recommended that you take two different forms of a GLP-1 agonist. Some other things that can happen, and we'll get into it. Let me know if y'all want me to get into more about some of the side effects, potential side effects, negative effects of these GLP-1 agonists. If you want me to talk about more of it, give me a 7 and I might pop up and give you a video on it. Good question. So give me a 7 if you want me to maybe do a short or a reel a little later on about some of the negatives, some of the side effects. All right. Shall we hit the next headline, Shador?
Yeah, why not?
Why not? Why not? Oh, y'all know about Unbreak My Heart. He wasn't man enough for me. Y'all used to be dancing when Toni. That might be my favorite video from Toni Braxton. Love me some Toni Braxton. Y'all know all about her. You know about the Braxton family. Love her mama, Mama E. Oh, Shador, remember, y'all, we actually got to meet Mama E, and we got to meet Toni Braxton's sister, Tracy, who's now passed away, because they actually came to one of our fundraising events. I'm a board member in Atlanta for the National Kidney Foundation, and Tracy Braxton came. She was one of our hosts. She sang, and her mother, Miss Evelyn, was there. She wasn't only there, she was warm. They both were very warm. Mama E, look, we danced. Mama E could dance, okay? Miss Evelyn can dance. And what I remember about Tracy is I had, some patients there who I invited as special guests. One of my patients had been in the ICU. She was so ill. And I told her, I said, you will be my special guest, and I'll make sure you get a chance to meet Tracy Braxton if you get up out this hospital bed and you do better. So that was months in advance. Do you know my patient came in there with her walker, with her makeup, and Tracy Braxton sat right down on the arm of the couch, talked with her, laughed with her. That was one of the highlights of my patient's life. She since passed away, my patient, and then so did Tracy Braxton. But talking about Toni Braxton, who, was the original great of the Braxton sisters, she has not come clean, she ain't doing anything wrong, but she's become more open about living with lupus, systemic lupus erythematosus. And so let's play a clip and we'll talk a little bit about lupus. And make sure you go ahead and get questions together if you have them, and hit that like button.
Lupus can be very challenging and difficult to diagnose because everything has to line up. It's almost like an eclipse. And no one could find out what was wrong with me. Okay, so she has this double-strand DNA, ANA issue. She has pericarditis. Just a lot of things going on in my body, and no one could diagnose me except for this man right here.
How many doctors did you see?
Oh, at least 6.
So I think what happened was that you were performing in
Vegas.
No, before that in New York.
Yes. Yes.
Don't you love how he remembers better than
That's why I love him.
You were performing Beauty and the Beast.
Yes.
On Broadway.
Yes, absolutely.
And she collapsed.
Yes.
In the middle of the show.
Yeah.
And she was taken to Mount Sinai Hospital in New York, where they found a large pericardial effusion and a low white count.
What does that mean?
She had fluid around the heart, and her white count was low. So she ended up not seeing rheumatology, but seeing hematology. And they thought she had a cancer or a pre-cancer workup for like 2 years.
Yeah.
And then
2 years.
That's a long time.
But how could that be in a young woman with pericarditis and all these other symptoms? Like, that's the first diagnosis autoimmune would come to.
No, it didn't happen.
Didn't happen.
You say that your systemic lupus loves my heart.
Loves it.
It can attack any organ in my body, but it loves my heart.
Yeah.
And you said when your face is puffy, that means you're on steroids to help control the autoimmune disease. So I kind of want to just talk about that. So you had surgery for your heart? You had a stent?
That's good. Yeah. So Toni Braxton strikes me as being somewhat of a private person, but I really appreciate that she is sharing so openly something that's so personal, her diagnosis with lupus, because guaranteed she's going to help other people figure out the diagnosis that they may not know they have, and just really be able to help others. So let's talk a little bit about lupus, also called systemic lupus erythematosus. It's an autoimmune disorder, meaning instead of your immune system just fighting bacteria and viruses, your immune system literally turns on you. Just like an autobiography is a book about oneself, lupus is when the immune system attacks oneself. And there are other autoimmune diseases outside of lupus, like rheumatoid arthritis that can attack the joints, or sarcoidosis that can attack the lungs. And there's even, things that affect the bowels that are autoimmune, Crohn's disease, things of that nature. But the thing about that doggone lupus is that it can attack anything. It can attack your skin, your joints, your brain, your heart, your lungs, your kidneys, all of it. Lupus can do anything. And it's a great imitator of many diseases, and it's quite debilitating. It definitely affects women more than men. Literally 90% of the people with lupus are women, if you can believe that, 90%. And it affects Black women, Latino women, Pacific Islanders, Asian women, clinically, in a clinically significantly way. It affects them more than it affects white women. And really, Black women, Latino women are at very high risk. In fact, about 1 out of every, like about 530 Black women will be diagnosed with lupus. And the other thing that's really tough on Black women specifically is that Black women tend to have more organ failure with their lupus. They tend to have symptoms that come on at earlier ages. And studies have shown us that Black women tend to have less social support. And so, again, we have a lot of a health disparity, a lot of a gap with lupus, which is why I'm so pleased that Toni Braxton is coming out and talking about it. So if you have any questions about lupus, go ahead and comment and ask them in the chat. Meanwhile, if you have the symptoms, again, it could affect a lot of symptoms. It can affect a lot of systems. There are a lot of different symptoms, but you can get a malar rash or like a butterfly rash on the face. You can get a rash anywhere, actually. You can also get photosensitivity or sun sensitivity if you have lupus. It can cause you to lose patches of your hair. Now, I already told you 9 out of 10 people with lupus, 9 out of 10 are women. So who wants to lose your hair? Nobody feels like losing their hair, but you can get alopecia with the lupus nephritis, or lupus kidney disease. And that's where we come in, Shador. A lot of our patients are young women with kidney failure, literally, and you might have foamy urine or protein in the urine. You might have blood in the urine. You can also get the pericarditis, like what Toni Braxton described, where she had fluid around her heart. You can get lung disease. You can have thick blood or blood that clots. Toni Braxton has had clots in her lungs, or PEs, pulmonary emboli. So make sure you check out my video right here on this YouTube channel, dr.frita, where I talk about lupus explained. And if you have any videos, or if you want any more details, go ahead and put a comment. So while I'm giving folks a chance to put their comments in the chat, I'm going to, mention some celebrities who have lupus. I'm gonna give some hints and see if anyone can guess who the celebrities are who've actually shared their stories publicly. And also, did I ask? Yeah, I did ask. Miss Sassy was the first one in the chat, right? All right. So this celebrity who has lupus is a Latina young celebrity. She is a singer. She acts, and she recently had a song that was real popular and hot. Baby, calm down, calm down. And she used to date Justin Bieber famously. Do you know who this young lady is? See if someone can put it in the chat. What celebrity is this who's been open about her lupus? Any takers? Any takers?
Not yet.
All right. Well, then there is another celebrity with lupus, a male, and now that's rare. But this male is a comedian, a rapper, an actor, and he's got a lot of children. I think he has 11. I'm not sure. And he used to be married to Mariah Carey. I know y'all know who this is. You may not have known that he had lupus.
All right. While we're waiting on that one, our first one to answer the female Latina was Miss Tanya Redding. I'm sorry, Selena Gomez.
Okay. That's right. You got it, Tanya Redding. Selena Redding. And she's been open about it, which is, I really appreciate her for that. But yes, she had lupus. And so if you look back, a lot of these times where she's performing, or times where you see her kind of disappear and her career seems to be like, hey, where's Selena Gomez? She had been living and struggling with lupus. The beautiful thing about her is that she was able to get a kidney transplant from a living donor. Okay. A friend of hers was able to give her a kidney. So now she's living with a kidney transplant. I guess, which circles back to our first question of the show with the pig kidneys, but she got a human kidney. And with that human kidney, that increases her quality of life, keeps her from having to be on dialysis, increases the years of life, her ability to move around without having to, be tied down to a dialysis machine. But yes, Selena Gomez. All right. Has anyone guessed the second person?
Yes, we have a lot of takers on the second person.
Give me some names. Give me some names.
I'm gonna read her comment real quick. Janet Jackson was the first to answer.
Nick Cannon. That's it. That's it. Anybody else?
Chronic baby daddy.
Who said chronic baby daddy? You know what? You know what? He does have a lot of children. Yes, he has his 2 children with Mariah Carey, but he has a lot, you know, and this is curious because he does talk about how he takes care of his kids and he goes, but when you have that many children from that many baby mamas, are you doing a disservice to your kids? Or it ain't tricking if you got it, if you have enough money to take care of them? Is it just about the money, or is it about the time, or is it about the notion of all of that unprotected sex with all those women? Or am I getting to being judgy was a bear? Anyway, she didn't call the man a chronic baby daddy. At one point, he actually had lupus nephritis, lupus kidney disease. He shared this. He's been public about it. Thankfully, to my knowledge, he's not on dialysis, never been on dialysis. And he's a very healthy person as far as how he describes himself, as far as exercising, eating. He certainly looks very fit. And so I pray that he holds up with his health. But she didn't call the man a chronic baby daddy. But yes, Nick Cannon, extremely talented individual, but he is also living with lupus. All right. Let me see. Maybe I'll give one more. Who else had? Ooh, now anybody who knows this answer is telling where they're from, telling their age, telling the music they like. This is a male, another male.
Fisher. That's why I answered the question. Go ahead.
Okay. Somebody has a question right now. I'll give my hint.
I just want to answer this question. They know who you're talking about.
If y'all know, this is a man who is from Miami or lives in Miami. He is a hip hop artist, and he used to have a radio show with Trina, the baddest bee. What else? Yeah, that's about all the hints I want to give. I believe he was on Love and Hip Hop. I'm pretty sure, but definitely in Miami, he and Trina had a radio show together, and he shared that he has discoid lupus. If you know that, come to the front of the room. Who is? Does anybody know it? What they say?
Miss Cynthia knew before you asked the question. Trick Daddy.
Miss Cynthia, who she say?
Trick Daddy.
Trick Daddy. Miss Cynthia, you told on yourself. You done told on yourself. Now I'm not going. Now I know I tell on myself all the time. Y'all already know I'm a hip hop person. I'm a Miami bass. I'm a cotton candy, sweet and gold. Let me see your Tootsie Roll. Look, that's what they at the 5K this weekend. Listen, Miss Cynthia, at the 5K this weekend, they were playing Tootsie Roll. They were playing 69 Boys. They were playing Ed Lover. They were playing Sierra 1-2 Step. They were playing all that stuff. Now you knew this answer, and so I'm gonna look at you, Miss Cynthia, because you might like the music I like. But yeah, Trick Daddy has shared that he has discoid lupus, and that's a specific type where you get these like hard nodules, these skin lesions. And again, it's rare for males to have it, but he shared that he has it. Now I will say, at least in the past, it doesn't sound like he was very compliant. Not it doesn't sound like it. He said he wasn't compliant with his medication. So I certainly hope that Trick Daddy has matured and is doing better with his medicines. But as far, there are different types of lupus. There's a systemic lupus erythematosus. Systemic lupus erythematosus, that's a tongue twister, or SLE. That's most common. Like 70% of people with lupus have that one. But then there's some other ones that will only affect the skin, like the discoid lupus. There's also a cutaneous, also a skin lupus, and then even a neonatal lupus. Okay, and these are again much lower in percentages than the SLE, or systemic lupus erythematosus. And when the neonatal one, that's if a mom has lupus and she has a baby, and while she's carrying the baby, she's passing her antibodies. Those same autoimmune antibodies that are fighting her system will fight the baby. And so the baby might be born with some liver problems, some low white blood cell count, anemia. But if the baby does not actually have lupus and it's just from the mother's antibodies, then after months, those symptoms are resolved, a neonatal lupus. But yeah, y'all, Trick Daddy. You don't know Nan. I don't know, y'all. And yes, I love Trina. I don't even care. She did that remix with Chingy. All right. Any other questions before we skip to Malou on the last topic?
Yes, Margaret Darden.
Hi, Margaret. Y'all press like, please. Let the people know and share, because even after the fact, they can come on back and watch and get some of this evidence-based data and some of this bit of trifling Miami. You don't know Nan. I'm the baddest. Pull over that too fat. All right. What's the question?
He has lupus to his children, like can be myeloma. So
say that again.
Can it pass lupus to his children, like myeloma?
Interesting. So as far as the risk factors for getting lupus, then if you have a family member, like a first degree family member, like a father, a mother, sister, brother with lupus, then it can increase your risk of having lupus, but it's not a case of a disease that's autosomal dominant, meaning that if you have a child, then with each child, it's a 50% chance they'll have lupus. It's not like that at all. So there's a great chance that he could give it to none of his children. Okay, There's a great chance that none of his kids could have lupus. It's not one of those things that has a very straightforward inheritance like autosomal dominant, autosomal recessive. But the short answer is that because he has it, then inherently there's an increased potential risk, but not necessarily a huge risk of his kids having lupus. Yeah. And then with the myeloma, same thing. Myeloma is not something that's kind of automatic. If you have a child, each child might have if you marry someone with it, 50% of the children will have it. Or, if you have each, it's not cut and dry like that. But just when you have a family history of lupus, or not just lupus, if you have family members who have, sarcoidosis, rheumatoid arthritis, some of the other autoimmune diseases, then that can increase your risk in the family of an autoimmune disease, but it's not black and white and absolute. Yeah.
All right. Thank you. Miss Barbara has a question regarding lupus.
Hi, Miss Barbara.
Could you die from having lupus?
The short answer is yes, absolutely. Absolutely, absolutely. Just like I've shared that it can affect any one of the systems, heart, pericarditis that Toni Braxton described having, that pericarditis and that fluid around her heart, had it not been treated, it could have kept increasing the fluid around her heart to the point where it caused a tamponade, or it could have caused her heart to be so constricted in the fluid and trapped in the sac where it stopped beating properly. It could cause that. Lupus can cause you to have thick blood or coagulopathy where you get blood clots. Toni Braxton shared that she's had PEs or pulmonary emboli, clots in the lungs. Clots in the lungs can cause you to be unalived, especially if it's a big clot that causes a saddle embolism, or like a big clot that really blocks blood flow and oxygen. So that can take you. Lupus can lead to lupus cerebritis, or inflammation in the brain, which can lead to seizures, death. Lupus can lead to kidney failure. Again, Shador and I see it in my practice, and of course I am a board certified nephrologist specializing in kidney disease and high blood pressure. And so I take care of people who get kidney disease that's caused by lupus. And so it can lead to you being on kidney failure, having dialysis, and going down that road of complications. And so if lupus is not managed, then absolutely, it is a very serious condition that can be fatal. That's why it's important that people see their primary care physicians. And if you're having kind of these random symptoms, or, maybe your hair is falling out, maybe you're getting rashes, maybe your joints hurt, maybe you're tired all the time. Like Toni Braxton described these symptoms, but they can be kind of non-specific. You can say, oh, she said that sometimes she just felt like, oh, maybe I'm just working too hard, or maybe I didn't get enough sleep. But ask your doctor to screen you for lupus. It's not a tough test. It's an ANA, anti-nuclear antibody, ANA. And then they can also do a DS DNA, a double-stranded DNA, to be screened. But yes, the short answer is it can kill you. And Black women tend to have more organ failure and to die at earlier ages and more frequently from lupus than other women. Thank you for that question.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
All right. So now we'll wrap up, and we'll briefly, just because I said I would we'll talk about Mama June. Her weight loss journey is a definite contrast to Tori Spelling's, because Mama June, the reality star, I guess Honey Boo Boo's mama, she actually was living with obesity where she weighed over 500 pounds at one point. And then she had a weight loss procedure. She had a gastric sleeve, I believe, but now she gained some of that weight back. And by some of it, I mean at least 100 pounds. So now she's about to go on a weight loss shot. As you play this clip, I want you, I'm gonna ask the folks in the chat, if you want to hear more about Mama June, put an 8 in the chat. I don't have time to talk about it tonight, but I'll go and I'll do a short video. And then again, if you follow me, and you can put it up, if they can follow me on Instagram at dr.frita, then a lot of times I'll do quick little tidbits over there. So we'll talk about Mama June. And if you say, if you want to know the difference between a lap band, gastric sleeve, gastric bypass, as far as effectiveness, or which one is riskier. I can do a video on that. So in your comment, include if you want me to do a video on that. And so put an 8 if you want to hear a little bit more about this story and be specific. And I'll make sure I do a video. Check me out on the Instagram on that one. And then again, this is a definite contrast to Tori Spelling because Mama June is living with obesity. But let's hear what Mama June's talking about. Honey boo boo mama.
That I've really put on weight. I have packed on like about 120, 130 pounds.
Mama June revealing a weight loss update.
I will do whatever it takes.
It's been nearly a decade since the reality star famously underwent gastric sleeve surgery.
I mean, you can't see the scars. I mean, they're up underneath, you know what I'm saying? Now you can see them.
That's June post-op with ET in 2017. But now on Instagram, she's sharing her plan to get back in shape after recent weight gain.
Eating out, not eating right, just all kinds of stuff. So I decided that I wanted to take the route of going with semaglutide.
According to the Mayo Clinic, semaglutide is a common treatment for type 2 diabetes that lowers medical risks and aids in weight loss.
I had a gastric sleeve surgery. I used to weigh 550 pounds. So on my own, I went from 550 pounds to 311 the day that I had my surgery. And in 6 weeks, I went from 311 all the way down to 195.
This surgery is honestly.
All right. So so if you want to hear more about Mama June, or if you want to know the difference between the different types of weight loss surgeries, put that in the chat. But it looks like she's about to go to semaglutide. But again, there is a difference in someone who's living with obesity and all the complications, who's already lost, even before her surgery, she lost a couple 100 pounds on her own. So she was trying. That's a difference than someone who is just thin and wants to be thinner, in my literally expert opinion. And also, so I thank you all for joining. Be sure you like this video again, share the video, tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend that we're back here on Mondays, Medical Mondays. Shadori and I are here, and we're giving you the updates in the medicine in the news. Be sure to comment, even after the video is over, comment for different things that you want to discuss. And if you ever want to have a discussion with me, myself and I one-on-one, then please, I have a concierge service. I have a telehealth concierge service where you can fill out a form and we can set up an appointment where we have 1 hour. We can talk about whatever medical concern you have. If you want to run something by me, a second opinion. In that case, I would actually have a chance to really learn more about the details of your history to give you a more thorough, more accurate answer. So make sure we'll keep that in the link in the description as well. It's up there now if you want to continue the conversation on a one-on-one basis with me. But as always, I appreciate all of you for joining the chat, for participating, for asking questions. Anybody put an 8 in the chat? Anybody want to know what's going on with Mama June?
We have a lot of 8s.
Tell me. Okay. Anybody say anything specifically? Like they want to know the difference in the that's what I think I might do. Gastric sleeve versus lap band versus the gastric bypass. I don't think a lot of people know the difference in those surgeries. So I might do something on that. Just shout out some names of who has some 8s. Hey there.
We got Felicia.
Hi, Felicia.
The Schumann.
Hi. Hello. Hi, Schumann.
4, 5, 8s up here. So yes, please talk about it.
Okay.
Miss Barbara. Lap band, etc. Thanks a bunch. You want to know about everything. So
okay.
Everything.
And I'll tell you, Dr. Heavenly from Married to Medicine shared that she had the lap band. That's actually the least effective of the surgeries, but it's something that's adjustable. It also has a low mortality rate, but we'll get into it. I'm gonna do a video on it. Check out that Instagram. I'll put it over there. Okay. Who else wants to know?
Miss Marilyn, please do a video for us.
What's that?
She says, please do a video for us.
I'll do that. I'll do that. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, I like it when I get feedback. All right. Well, thank y'all for joining us on this Medical Monday. Again, be sure to like, be sure to subscribe. We'll be back here, same bat time, same bat place. Thank you so much to my wonderful co-host and my office manager of the practice, Midtown Atlanta Nephrology PC, my office manager for over a decade. Somebody pray for the people. Thank you, Shador. Wonderful job as always. And we're out of here. We'll see you next Monday.